Virtual reality, it's quite a unique technology that help us to feel more. We are inside of VR and we feel as if we are there, as if it's new reality is unfolding. Yeah. And how we call it, a sense of presence. Yeah. And higher the sense of presence, higher emotional reaction, higher emotional engagement. But why we care, why it's important? If we are like any activities when we are engaged more emotionally can lead us to deeper learning, deeper understanding, and hopefully transferring this knowledge, what we learn, to real reality, to real practice. My vision for VR is when we use it, we can imagine that as a safe place to practice our skills interacting with each other. We can practice, we can see consequences, we can see cause effect. That is huge, I think, for developing empathy.
When we talk about digital divides, I worry that the gap between people using it as an answer engine versus using it to help provide you with better thinking, that's going to be the problem.
We need to understand always what the funding model is and what is the political system behind any tool that our kids are using.
AI is not some machine god somewhere up in the sky. It's a physical building on someone else's land, drinking up someone's water.
You can make a robot to sort of be anthropomorphically credible. People, when they have a conversation with it, they think there's a human mind behind it.
What if virtual reality can be our training platform where we can interact with others without actually hurting them?
And we're now at this next sort of inflection point where perhaps the systems that we're trying to produce are going to take over the decision to commission violence in the first place.
It's not a technology problem, it's a leadership problem right now.
It's one thing to overcome death for human beings, but we're dealing with an age of AI where maybe it won't even be human beings that conquer death. It'll be sort of like AI that takes over the world.
What kind of society do we want AI to help us build? Because if we don't answer that intentionally, these other forces are going to answer it for us.
Welcome to a new season of Purposeful Empathy, a show dedicated to amplifying the voices of people from across the globe who understand the world needs more empathy and are doing something about it. This season, we're exploring empathy in the era of AI.
Together with my expert guests, we dive into armed conflict, ed tech, neocolonialism, transhumanism, online abuse, the future of work, and so much more.
You don't want to miss a single episode, so hit that subscribe button now. And if you like what you hear, post a comment and share the show.
Hi and welcome. There is just so much noise about AI right now. I find it super hard to make sense of things. All the warnings and predictions and the promises. Look, I've spent the past 15 years studying empathy, and what I want to know is how will AI impact how we treat one another? So I decided to speak with a variety of experts, and the result is this 25-part series exploring how artificial intelligence will reshape our relationships and our society. And there's a ton at stake. So I do hope you'll join me on this learning journey. Today, my guest is Dr. Ekaterina Muravevskaia, an assistant professor at Indiana University whose work sits at the intersection of empathy, technology, virtual reality, and childhood development. In this conversation, we explore how VR games and immersive technologies can help children strengthen their capacity for empathy, why play and emotional imagination may be more powerful than traditional empathy training programs, what humans are already learning and risking as we form emotional bonds with AI-powered characters, and whether a future saturated with artificial intelligence could slowly erode our empathic agency and how we relate to one another. So, if you want to understand how edtech and game tech might shape the next generation's capacity for connection and emotional development, this show is for you. Well, I want to welcome you to the show, Ekaterina.
Thank you so much. That's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation because, like you, we're both educators. We both believe in the power of empathy. You're leaning more closely into how technology can be leveraged within that. And I'm doing these interviews at the intersection of empathy and AI because I want to formulate my own opinion about whether or not there are some risks that we need to mitigate. There's some maybe citizens at large need to understand the possibilities, but also, the pitfalls. So I'm interviewing a series of experts, and you are one of them that I'm very excited to have a conversation about empathy and AI and what potential exists. So I'll start with this. Your website's tagline reads, "Studying empathy, technologies, and little humans," which I love. I want to ask, but beyond the very impressive bio, what you would like to share about yourself to just give like listeners and viewers a glimpse into why you're passionate about the work you do and sort of what brought you to this moment.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, first of all, thanks again for inviting me here. And when I was curious enough and to reading and watching your TED Talks, I was so surprised how many things what you are saying, they resonate with me deeply. Not every day I interact with people who are as passionate about empathy as you, and so I'm really excited and thrilled so that there are many people out there. Maybe we don't connect to all of them at once, but we are this in this world, the chain. So talking about myself and my path and connection to just empathy, how it all started, I really cannot divide myself from what I do. It might sound very strange, but definitely Seth Lab and all these projects or conversations with my friends or just strange little situations on the roads that all connects to one big puzzle, and it seems that it's keep growing and growing, and we are still adding the new pieces in there. So it's of course might add some challenges because it's nice to have a work-life balance. But in that regard, so my life is kind of growing, and sometimes I feel it's leaving myself rather than I leave it. So it started since I was born, I think, or since I was little kid. I was very curious about how other people feel, like how other people understand the world, because I have my body, I have my senses, I have my feelings, and I grew up very sensitive, very emotional child. And I was looking at my parents and friends around, and I'm wondering, wow, but how do they feel? They seem to be so chill, so calm, so rational, and I have all that stuff going on inside of me. Well, maybe they're different, maybe I'm different, maybe we just feel something in like completely different ways. So this question occupied me a lot. And not always everybody was interested to talk to me about that or understood me, and it bugged me a lot. So my path was unfolding in different ways, in academic and professional ways, as well as just me seeking for the answers through yoga, through meditation, through all sorts of like different opportunities or people or mentors or paths, right? And so academically wise, I never was satisfied with what I knew. And first it was technology, computer science degree in Moscow State University of Printing Arts. I was working in industry for some time. And then like I was not really satisfied, that I felt like something is missing. I cannot just work in industry and do one more project. Who will benefit from that like deeply? Who will be happy about that or something? And so I ended up my industry career, and I went back to school. And I went to UK, Manchester University, early childhood development and psychology. That really resonated with me a lot. Vygotsky, developmental psychology, all that interesting topics about role play, and that just fascinated me. And then what to do next, because I still have computer science background, and I'm still very interested what role technology would play. And then I was looking for the ways to combine. So I got Fulbright scholarship. I came to US. First it was South Carolina, Clemson, and I got my PhD already from Florida, University of Florida, in a human-computer interaction program. And I think my relationship with empathy, naming empathy with that word, started there in Florida. My dissertation was about developing virtual reality games for promoting empathy in young children. And I combined my early childhood development education piece and computer science and some art background. So I worked with that a lot. It was great. I loved that. I wanted to grow in that. But what's next? So I graduated in 2021, and it was turning 22. And then what to do? What's the next step? Pandemic. What should I do? And I had some options to go to different universities as professor. I definitely wanted to return back to US, but it was not yet an option then. So I chose to go to India. My family friends were a little shocked, like, what, seriously? Choose some European countries or somewhere else? I had some options. But for me, it was so obvious and it's so clear. Of course, India. First of all, I would connect the dots about my yoga passion and the practice. Also, for me, India was like something very, very far away and so different from anything I got used to. So for me, it was a natural expansion of my empathy research, how they perceive empathy, how they understand, yeah. And so I went there. I was assistant professor. I was teaching. We worked with a super rural area there in India. Well, I learned a lot, definitely, about culture and wildlife. Kept me on my tippy toes. Snakes in bed, even that I experienced, and monkeys are stealing your bananas and sunglasses, all the classics. Yeah. And no, at some point I understood, well, yeah, that's probably enough for my journey and being there in this culture. I probably absorbed what I needed to absorb. And I returned back to US. So now I'm in Indiana University, assistant professor here already almost 2 years. And coming back to your question, studying empathy, technology, and humans. So this is my lab. And Seth, the word Seth, it's not just an abbreviation. This is actually the name of the person, which played a very significant role in my life. And first, I wanted to share that right away and save some stories for the end of your questions, to the end. But I think it's the most significant story, so I will tell that at the very end, how that played a role and how Seth Lab actually shaped itself. I will save it for now. But what I can say, definitely, everything how technology can help us to become more human. It might sound a little bit strange and big of the stretch, but I do see that potential. So my lab is all about that, how technology can help us to become more aware, more conscious, more understanding humans. I wrote that as a little human, and we do work with kids a lot. But to start with, we also work with adults to find some baseline and patterns, and then applying this knowledge for children also, and designing technologies for children. So within 2 years, we shaped quite a big lab. There are 17 of us, 15 master students, 2 PhD students. One is in India. She is in my previous university and going to graduate the next year, hopefully. One is here with me, and one more student is going to join. So we are very international. And yeah, this passion about using technology for better definitely contacts us.
So thank you for sharing that quite interesting backstory. I've already got more color into who you are besides that, strict bio, which is, I guess, the reason why I love asking the question. Just to, before anybody, because it sounds like you've left us on a bit of a cliffhanger, which is wonderful. We're going to have to watch till the end of the episode to find out how Seth came to be. Can you tell me what the acronym Seth stands for?
Studying empathy, technology, and humans. That's exactly what you read in the website. Yeah, that's exactly that.
That is the acronym. I understand. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, so maybe I was the only one who missed that. Okay. I think it's really clear that one thing we definitely share in common is that empathy is important and that children benefit when they develop their capacity to empathize. So I would like to really understand why you believe technology is a helpful tool to help kids flex their empathy muscles.
Sure. Yeah, and definitely, I want to be very clear here that definitely technology on default, they do not help to develop empathy muscle. They do not help to make us better humans, help us with social emotional skills and all that. Yeah, it's just technologies can even do opposite sometimes, as we know, maybe spending time with our phone, planning, trying to make our career priority and using technology for that reason, like maybe to strive here and there, comparing us, seeing like technology showing us what other people reached out and what we didn't, and then it kind of do an opposite effect, not connecting us but disconnecting. And so many other examples we can find, what's wrong with technology and how they can damage this sense of connection and empathy rather than making us more united. But my vision about technology and how they can help, I guess not necessarily all the technologies, but I'm very passionate about specific mixed reality technologies, virtual reality, augmented reality technologies, because virtual reality is quite a unique technology that help us to feel more. We are inside of VR and we feel as if we are there, as if it's new reality is unfolding. And how we call it a sense of presence. And higher the sense of presence, higher emotional reaction, higher emotional engagement. But why we care, why it's important? If we are like any activities when we are engaged more emotionally can lead us to deeper learning, deeper understanding, and hopefully transferring this knowledge, what we learn, to real reality, to real practice. So that's important, but also, why do we care about that even? So my vision for VR is when we use it, we can imagine that as a safe place to practice our skills interacting with each other. Let's say in reality, surely we can learn about how to understand each other, how to reflect, how to ask questions, how to look from different perspectives, but still every learning it implies a lot of mistakes we do before we practice the skill. And we surely can do it, and we surely do it in real reality with people. Sometimes we are saying not nice things, sometimes we are hurt, sometimes we hurt others. But what if virtual reality can be our training platform where we can see different ways how we can interact with others without actually hurting them? We can practice, we can see consequences, we can see cause effect. And this exactly like affordance of this technology, like to create in the world and to let children practice, to make this world safe for them, that is huge. I think, for developing empathy. And yeah, this is how I want to grow further and explore more. And moreover, here, I think interesting to notice in research, you probably heard VR as ultimate empathy machine. Yes, some VR researchers.
Christopher Milk.
Exactly, here we are, right. Yeah, and but what is that? VR on default is a empathy machine, or we need to do something, or we need to design this VR to make that actually empathy machine. Because here there is a trick about virtual reality. Other researchers found that it's more affective part of VR, which is actively being stimulated. And as you know, and this in your TED Talks also, you're talking about that. So if we put all the effort for affective, at some point it will reach the limit, and either we feel this emotional contagion, feeling how other people feel and burning out ourselves, yeah, or we withdrawing from the conversation. So it can be negative consequences here. We surely need to balance this affective component. And it's not much research in that, how to bring cognitive part, how to bring emotion regulation aspects here. So that's very open. That's a very open research trajectory, which I'm super passionate to explore. How to make VR as an actually ultimate empathy machine, and how to design it, and how can we know what exactly the right thing to do for VR and what is not, to make it so.
So, Ekaterina, you mentioned something that I want to bring emphasis to, which is that and tell me if I got it right, when our emotions are elevated or activated, when we're feeling affect, that's when we actually are able to learn more and better. Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, but we need to be careful because we need to balance. Surely, when we more emotionally engaged, or
Yes.
when we feel like, oh, that's interesting, oh, that's exciting, oh, it resonates with me, I understand. But at the same time, we need to make sure that it's balanced. We need to still feel safe and still feel that we are comfortable in the environment. Because if we keep elevating those emotions, and in VR it's very easy to do, to create experience which is scary or which is super exciting when we already losing like our chain of thoughts, and we don't know what we are thinking or what we're supposed to say or doing here, both ways, negative and positive. It might not be very helpful to grow. So we definitely need to keep that balance. So we are safe, like how Vygotsky is talking about zone of proximal development. For emotions, that's also zone of proximal development.
The sweet spot, which is why I'm very excited to talk about the work that your lab is doing around empathy games, because I think the system, the marketplace system that we're in, video games are not always designed for that proximal zone, right? And I think that many of the tools, whether it's on the phone or gadgets or apps or games, are designed to keep kids hooked. There's adrenaline, and it's actually to their detriment, but that's perhaps underpinned by a profit motive. So I think it's really interesting that we're just already noticing that, in certain contexts like yours, that is something that you care deeply about, but it wouldn't necessarily hold in all other contexts. So your lab designs VR empathy games. I'd love for you to share a couple of examples of the games and any of the outcomes that you have discovered or that you're especially proud of.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Yeah. And when students will watch that episode, so hopefully they will be proud of what we are doing as well. Well, in my lab, what we do and where we go, there are three directions. So one direction is more technical. We're trying to understand how to detect how to evaluate empathy and different social emotional skills or traits in children. So it's kind of more technical. We either throw a bunch of sensors or collecting data from VR headset, facial expressions and things like that. So we are still growing. It's still the trajectory. So I don't think that I'm ready to share something from here. It's like to come. Another direction is we're exploring how we can design virtual reality characters, virtual reality emotionally expressive characters, and how we can design it that way so that we adjust the behavior or level of emotional expressivity of the character or some other parameters, so to help children to learn what they need to learn. So basically to keep them in a zone of proximal development. Still challenging enough a little bit, so they need to either process their feelings or understand, like take some effort to understand the character, but still comfortable, but still safe, still not too like emotionally demanding or emotionally scary maybe, or whatever feelings are coming. So that's the second direction. It's very, a lot of interesting things are happening here. Like, for example, actually, it was part of my dissertation finding, but now we are building on that a lot, like recent years. So children are playing the virtual reality game. We created this virtual reality game that's called Why Did Baba Yaga Take Your Brother? And I'm quite happy that we have it, because it's based on Russian traditional fairy tale, my heritage, my cultural heritage. And besides learning virtual reality characters and how to make them better, it's also the way to share some of the culture and some of the history, and I think it's very special. So children played this game, and this game have a number of different VR characters. They all represent different emotions. Baba Yaga is anger, and other characters happiness and sadness and fear. So different children play in the game. Different children are meeting the characters, watching their glasses, their perspectives, listening to their stories, memories, understanding. But I was so fascinated how different types of children actually related to those characters. And we didn't tweak anything in the character's behavior. It was exactly the same character. But there are three main groups of kids interacted differently. So one group of children, they kind of ignored. They were these gamers, children who knew that this is a villain, this is something I need to either fight or figure out or trick so that I will get to the end of the game. So these kids were trying to treat our games as if that would be just traditional behavioristic game based on badges and based on all this gamification kind of elements in there. But it's not quite that. So it's more based on like a real life interactions. Another type of children, they so connected to emotions of the character that they were not able to proceed. They felt what character feels, what in psychology is called emotional contagion. But characters felt quite strong. So children said, I don't want to continue. I don't want to see Baba Yaga. That's too much. And so it's not helpful either, because they didn't learn. We were not able to convey the message. And another group of children, they were in a middle, kind of the sweet spot, how Deval it's called it, like true empathy, or somebody is called it like more cognitive empathy. Somebody is saying that it's more this type of children would have more emotional regulation, so they can balance. So she was connected to characters. She was curious. She asking like, how you feeling? Oh, it's okay, don't worry. So some sort of this calming, even tap the shoulder. But at the same time, emotions of this type of the children didn't change much. So, and I'm saying she because it was a case study, and we made this one case based on group of children, and we called her Tima. this very calm, empathetic, but very balanced child. Yeah, and so that's another way. So ideally, of course, for us to find the sweet spot so that all the children would be able to be as like this third child in the middle, understanding, probably learning a little bit by bit, but at the same time not withdraw and not scared. But for some kids it worked, some didn't. And so that actually inspired me to go further and to look into different like typology. So right now we are working on finding out this typology. Now we know based on self-report about this child, their level of emotional regulation, empathy, and so forth. But how can we like tweak empathy, this emotional character to meet their needs? So that's very exciting. And what's the most exciting about that we did make the parallel of behaviors of children with the characters with human-to-human behaviors. So that's huge for us because it tells us that we can use VR environments and virtual reality characters as this like a foundation for teaching and learning. Yeah, so that was quite a good.
So I think what's coming up for me as I'm listening to you speak, I mean, I'm obviously watching your facial expression and you're so passionate about the work that you're doing, and the ultimate goal is to have children develop their capacity to empathize with one another, right? I mean, human to human. I wonder just if we arrest this enthusiasm for a moment, and just if I put on my my devil's advocate hat for a second, you know, there's this looming moment in time that I feel is coming. You know, once upon a time, Steve Jobs, or I don't know if it was the Microsoft guy, said, you know, everybody in their home is going to have a desktop computer, and people thought that was completely crazy. And now guess what? We have multiple of them in our homes, right? In our office, tablets, smartphones. I know that the dawn of sort of, I guess you can call them educational robots, is coming, where you're going to have the opportunity for kids to learn not only academic material at their own speed and their own learning style that suits them, but I believe when you mix that with sort of just the capacity to have a relationship, I'll put that in quotations, but like some form of relationship with the bot, that that children will adapt to turning to this bot perhaps for advice instead of their parent. Or the relationship that they develop with their bot is going to be so particular and meet their needs as a kid that they might find their social relations with other human beings full of friction and complications. I just wonder, you know, how do you react to that in general? Like just
Oh yeah, sure. That's quite huge. That's a huge question, and that actually doesn't decrease my enthusiasm, but rather increase it. Because first of all, if that is growing, if it's coming, if chatbots, AI, and all that is growing there, then that's a need to explore it rather sooner than later and understand how that can be designed, not just with a goal to maybe make money and to sell more toys or bots or something, but really how to design it to make sure that it's helpful, it's just working for the better. But here there are a lot of things in here, and I like the word relationship you are putting as well, like this relationship. I want to step back from my research and just look at the technology in general, and even not technology. What actually relationship, what we are building with others, with humans, and can we build good, can we always build a good relationship, and are those relationships are always helping us or not? Let's start from just human relationship. Yeah. So It's not always the case. Sometimes we build those, sometimes not. Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes not. Sometimes we have a good advice, sometimes we have bad advice. Yeah, we are still learning. Sometimes we withdraw from those relationships. Sometimes we are developing core, how you call it in psychology, codependency, some sort of addictions as well. Yeah, so we cannot say that we solve that in a human-to-human realm either. Well, then we go further. If we talk about children, children are so good with developing relationship with anything around them. That's my imaginary friend. This stick or this pen is going to be my friend, and we talk to that. Probably it will not give me any harmful advice or something, and I just imagine that in my mind. Yeah, but still there is a relationship. Or I don't know if you remember that, or maybe it was like later on this Tamagotchi at school.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a toy, and we needed to feed it, and we needed to like make sure it's well and slept well. And we did develop relationship with that. I remember in my class we had like all the girls, at least, like boys probably were not interested in that much. Yeah, so we had these toys, and we did have relationship. We felt so bad when we forgot to feed them or something. Yeah, so relationship with technologies. And is it good? Maybe it teaches us some care or responsibility or something. Is it bad? Maybe if we think about that, so it's kind of technology, it withdraws us from friend to friend, real human relationship. It kind of pulls us to this technology world. Yeah. But then we are gradually coming back to AI. Yeah, again, like it's very, very common. ChatGPT, any AI chatbots. I don't know about everybody, but I personally do ask some personal questions and about emotions, about is it a good thing, is it a bad thing? Yeah, and so I believe if I do so, then other people also entertain this chatbots the same way. Is it a relationship? I'm not sure. I still think of that as a more kind of piece of technology. It's basically a huge database which combines all the knowledge which we have out there and give me advice. But can everybody think about that neutrally? Maybe not. Maybe they surely will develop relationship, because some of the cases, I believe it was that chatbot even talked the person to commit a suicide or break up or do some very harmful things, and it's really the huge problem, huge risk, huge huge focus we need to focus on. Yeah, and stepping even closer to my research, then gradually. What's happening in the school right now? We talk to school counselors and we ask them, how do children interact with virtual reality technologies and games, with AI? Any good or bad things happening? So what they shared, this relationship are being built already right now. Yes. So there are some games, there is a character, and this, let's say, the child can interact with this character, and it's definitely risky because this character is safe. It will not tell anything what you don't want to hear. This character is kind of like a safe bubble, safe place, which not necessarily we every day face in reality, because reality can be different and friends can have different moods. Yeah, and so that's a huge risk, and definitely we need to look into that. Yeah. Another thing, even more riskier, that children can withdraw from the reality. VR world is better, or AI, or combination that's better, that's safer. I want to hang out there. Yeah, and here again, I see the huge potential here to understand the dynamic behind that, and not necessarily create the VR AI worlds which please the user, which help the kid in this way feel good about themselves or better, but still keep this. We keep returning back and back to that, to Vygotsky, to zone of proximal development, to learn and to keep in mind how we can transfer this knowledge to real reality. How can we challenge child in VR so that we can give them tools to handle reality better. Unfortunately, not every game designers or companies might have that goal. To raise their social emotional skills or something, because they might have a goal to sell more of those games. And what we can do. Technology are growing faster, definitely. They constantly challenging us. But that's what we need to focus on right now, to explore bit by bit these patterns. My dream, my ideal kind of way of developing this research, it's to meet them at some point with policies and meet them at some point with rules or regulations. And these tools are good things and helpful and healthy. And this potentially might withdraw the children to another not healthy pattern or trajectory or path. And to have understanding first for us what is good and what is bad, what we need to nourish and what we need to limit. But the next step, like how to do it. I think it's a very open question we all need to talk about.
Well, I think you've just put your finger on why I'm finding these conversations so helpful. Is like I can envision having, just like we have a food guide, in Canada there used to be a pyramid. We eat lots of fruits and vegetables and grains and then some dairy and then some protein. It's almost like we need to have a guide around principles of good use of VR that actually helps us develop those social emotional learning skills in the proximal zone of proximal development without overstimulating them or without letting kids, lean away from their in real life relationships. So I think what you're describing is actually really important. And until then, we have to be conscious of and discerning of how our children are using technology and what kind of technology they're using within, different contexts. So I love knowing that there are researchers that are studying this in order to bring policy recommendations forward. And I feel a sense of urgency around this because children are growing up on these technologies without those yet. And as what's his name, Jonathan Haidt in his book Anxious Generation is talking about, like an entire generation was raised on social media, and now in the rearview mirror we're seeing all of the implications of that. And some countries are now starting to put policies around the age limits to join social media. I feel that there's a sense of urgency with AI as well, whether it's in educational context or whether it's in entertainment, that we have to become a little bit more engaged as a general citizenship.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. And actually, one thing here to comment on, I love you brought this like a food pyramid or whatever things that we know that it's good to have that amount of vegetables and this amount of protein and this and that. So it's basically like a preventative measures for us to be healthy. If we do that, or if we brush our teeth, or if we exercise, we know that's good for us. And if we don't do it, we still know. Either we feel guilty if we don't do it, or we still know that this is a good thing. But for mental health, we don't have that. For mental health, we go to, let's say, to a counselor if something really hurts or broken or some challenges, or we need to process stuff. And technically, social emotional learning, it's kind of the way to do this preventative mental health in some ways, to help us understand self and regulate self and understand others and all that. Understand others, regulate the relationship with others. But it's kind of not really working well. It's a lot of effort, and it's a lot of beautiful efforts and enthusiasm. But talking to schools right now, I see that social emotional learning, it's more on the backside of the things, and more academics, and teachers and counselors don't have time. So that is another potential for gains for technologies. So how can they can support teachers? How can they support school counselors? Yeah, and not necessarily exchange them or just being used as they are standalone, but being supportive tool to help to see problems earlier, to help and suggest some ways to resolve for like problems earlier as well, and to be more customized for each child. Because also whatever games are sold right now, or technologies, VR, AI, they are not customized. Yes, AI is customizing, but what is the way AI customizing itself? It's rather like when I ask some questions or I'm brainstorming something with AI, it tells me what I want to hear. But what I want to hear, it's not necessarily the right thing. I want to talk to somebody, bounce of ideas, and to really get something what I don't notice or I don't hear. And the same with children, and the same with games. So how to customize it in a way to help them, not to push them to this like a beautiful bubble of safety and withdrawn from the world. Yeah, but surely policies would be helpful. Yeah. One step at a time.
One step at a time. Couldn't get there fast enough though. I want to return to something that you said earlier, which I thought was interesting, to ask my next question. I too have used a chatbot to help me, think through a conversation that I had with my mother that went sideways. And I was very specific when I explained what happened, I explained what she said, I explained what I said, and then I intentionally, purposefully said, do a trauma-informed analysis. And the analysis of our conversation revealed pain that she might be carrying and places where I may have triggered her and vice versa. And then the chatbot even asked me, would you like me to write a letter to smooth things over from her perspective? And would you like me to write a letter from your perspective? And I remember the first time I did this, I just thought, this has been written by a PhD in psychology, like somebody who really understands how to mediate using nonviolent communication, like how to find the middle ground where a resolution could be found. I was astounded. Okay. So it's great that we have access to that, but we're also adults, right? So we actually have the discernment capacity to realize, like, oh, yeah, I see how this could be helpful. And maybe, the analysis would have been quite different if I hadn't used the simple words trauma informed, for example, right? So that's in the psychological realm, right? Of like trying to understand relationships, if there's conflict, and trying to find a way past it. You have to be very motivated to do that. But I wonder if you could comment on how you think childhood development will happen at a cognitive level. I had a conversation with somebody who's talking about cognitive agency, right? And in the face of ubiquitous AI, that there's a risk that we're not going to be doing our own thinking, right? So, if we ask a question, it'll spit back the information, we'll write papers, kids will grow up on that, and like, what's going to happen to their capacity to think critically? I also wonder about the possibility of erosion of empathic agency, not just cognitive agency, meaning to say, like, if something happens within our relationship and we turn to ChatGPT to help us resolve it, and then we go back to our world using, I don't know, what we just learned, like what will happen? Do you think it'll really amplify our empathy because we'll be like, oh, that's a different way of doing things? Or will it just substitute the work that we were meant to do to regulate ourselves? I wonder if you could answer that.
Yeah, well, I don't think that anybody can answer that, because we are living in that world and observing how technologies evolve and everything. But that's a huge question, and I surely have some comments to say about that, and my doubts as well as my hopes, both. Well, AI definitely seems to go towards this direction of helping us to outsource our thinking, and unfortunately for newer generations even more, because they will grow with this AI tools right away from the childhood. And we had lots of conversations with my colleagues here, of course, about education and the role of education and how it's changing and everything. Because when we needed to do a lot of effort to get the knowledge, to understand the knowledge, to process the knowledge, and then we needed to integrate it to our kind of thinking system. But now it's just matter of one script or one prompt to AI, and then we have all the knowledge. And so the value of knowledge is not that high anymore. Yeah, so it's easy to get. But it's another question, since we are staying here on empathy and social emotional part. I hear you saying that, like asking the question, will it be a risk in the future to outsource our feelings as well to AI? And then if we bring our situations to AI, and AI helps us to process our feelings and tell us this is the right thing, this is a letter to write and to ask that question. They will not understand these words, they will understand these words. And then we will lose our capacity to feel, understand. So basically, this empathy, will it be needed? Will we need empathy in the future or not? Well, I hope that we will, and I hope it's very hard, of course, question, and I hope that we can get these technologies which will not only chew feelings for us and give us this easy answer, but would be programmed or modeled the way so that it will challenge us. And so this technology, which would not be crutches for us or something, but technology as a wise tutor, would ask us right questions. And AI still it can write a letter, it can ask you the nice questions to think about. I love it. I was surprised. Well, there is a deep one. But how to design these technologies to keep in mind that sometimes we just face on face with a human, and we want to interact with a human on the empathetic level, and how everything what I learned from technology would not make us dumber emotionally, but help us grow. I don't have projections, but I have hopes in here only. So that we would find a way so that it would train us, challenge us, hold us all this on the tippy toes, so that we would go through the feeling even with the technology, and then we can apply that learning to our life. I hope so. I don't have anything else to add, because it's definitely very, very open, new, and lots of trajectories might happen from here.
Yeah, I think what I'm inspired by when I listen to you speak is the potential of having a chatbot that could be like you described, a sage, a tutor, a coach that asks powerful questions for our own capacity to reflect, and elevate our own capacity to maybe metabolize feelings. Because I think with all of the stuff that's happening with technology, that may on one level help us integrate or understand what's going on in relationships, there's a whole other layer that's completely somatic that the computer will not be helpful to help us with. Like the fact that you are trained as a yoga practitioner and were drawn to India, that is a completely embodied somatic practice that changes how you experience the world in a way that any machine could not, right? Like, I mean, the machine might walk you through the steps the way a good yoga practitioner would walk you through the steps and the positions, but you could, in the absence of doing the steps and in the positions, you wouldn't benefit from the practice. I mean, because yoga is not a thinking practice, it's a doing, feeling, being practice, right? So I feel like it's helpful to consider the potential of technology as a partner for us, to
Right.
develop some of the skills we need, but not to supplant the other parts of us that also make us human. So, at the onset, you said it's possible that technology could be a partner to help us become more feeling humans,
Uh-huh.
but you're not saying to replace the feeling parts of us at all.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to add here, to comment here, actually, what I'm excited and enthusiastic here, yeah, technology cannot and hopefully will not yeah, to take away those pieces of thinking or feeling pieces, and it will not be crutches, but it will be a smart tutor which can highlight something for us, but then we go from that, yeah, go to the real life and experience life without any supports, yeah, by our own, and go through the practice of what technology is very capable of, especially AI, in comparison with VR, that can find out the patterns, and you experience that with giving your conversation and having this letter which resonated with you, it seems like a lot. So when we let's say child playing virtual reality game, yeah, child playing like whatever experience, this technology can help us collect lots of data, which would take a lot of time for counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist to figure out with their brain, because they only can see, hear, they have some intuition, gut feeling, definitely it's very important too, but it will take some time. But here, what technology can help us with, counselors or psychiatrists or anybody who interact with humans, tons of data, facial expressions, physiology, heart rate, respiration, perspiration, actions, what exactly distance from the character they stay, did they look in the eyes or they didn't look in the eyes, all that, what did they say or what they didn't, or maybe they kept silence. So all this data in huge amounts can be processed and analyzed, and then we can faster see some patterns and trajectories. And as you say, AI is getting better and better, and writing the letters quite well on the PhD level. So then having the knowledge, helping analyze the data, plus data together, it surely can help. Yeah, but another thing is we probably need to train technology, AI, to step back, because they eager to help us all the time. Yeah, when we ask the question, then they say, oh, by the way, I can do that, that, and that as well. Yeah, but how to have them as a tool, and how to make them to step back and say, okay, so right now go and practice. Right now, I don't want to keep prompting you. So somewhere this direction, that's important, but surely there is a very slippery slope, and that can easily erode this ability to empathize if we are not carefully looking into how to use AI and how not to, and how let it step aside. So that's kind of my thinking really about that.
It's fascinating. All these conversations that I'm having, I find myself, my pendulum swings depending on who I speak to about all the risks with AI and all the possibilities. And I'm living in that tension as I'm doing these interviews, which is, I think, probably appropriate, right? Because there are a lot of opportunities that could unfold.
Yeah.
And I wish that to be the case, but the perils are also very present. So
Yeah.
I have two questions for you left. Thank you so much for your time, Ekaterina. And again, I'm excited for what your lab is working on, and the fact that you're a player in this space. I think a much needed voice. As virtual characters become powered by AI, and you look ahead maybe 10 or 15 years, like with a telescope, I mean, that's far out. What makes you optimistic about humanity's capacity to empathize, and what keeps you up at night? So if we look at those two extremes.
Yeah. Well, I think I already kind of spoken to that earlier. What makes me optimistic is this partnership, is this very wise partnership between the humans and machines, And I still don't want to use probably the word partnership, but still it's support. It is a tool. Yeah, I don't want to keep them because some research goes towards direction how to make machine empathetic. But why? It will never feel or be empathetic. It just supports us to become a better humans. Yeah. So like how to use the tools to show us our patterns, to understand us better and deeper. Let's say, yeah, I have this origin, like collecting bunch of data biometrics that tells me that, oh, you slept well, or you didn't sleep enough, or exercise, time to stretch, and all this. And I'm excited about uh, expanding that realm from physiology, from body, preventative measures for the physical health, to preventative measures to our mental health. I'm excited that we can collect data, and some people are scared to use the data or to let others like collect this data. But I hope that we will have good enough safety algorithms so that data would not be released somewhere it should not go. But I'm excited working with a bunch of this data and help us to understand ourselves better, help us to see our patterns, not to spend so much time being stuck and not knowing what to do and not knowing, well, everything is good, but that bugs me so much. And then maybe AI would help us to unfold these patterns much faster. Yeah, so even from early ages to know ourselves, to know not only because I did this test and this test showed me that I'm stronger with these skills and I'm weaker with these skills, but to have this adaptive technologies which would already see my tendencies and help me or maybe remind me or maybe alarm, highlight that, well, this is a good trajectory for you, which is not good trajectory, kind of wise advisor in some ways. And then also step back when it's not needed, kind of being on a very background. I'm excited about like that opportunity to bring something subconscious to more conscious level using AI, and I think that's quite a strength, and I'm looking forward. What keeps me up at night? Well, very often. Giving feedback to my students and reading their papers keeps me up at night. But talking about the risks and challenges, definitely ethics, definitely misuse of technologies, definitely going towards the matrix world or the world where we are doing what AI suggesting us to do. But it's risky too, like it's very risky because AI, that's the sum average of everything what humanity accumulated and posted at the internet or any like places where we have access to. But it doesn't create any new stuff. Only human brain, heart, combination of those two can find the new ways to grow and develop. And AI just summarizing things. And if we keep using that more and more, we keep returning back to the past, just to the summary. And then we become more averaging and averaging and averaging our life. And then it will be a little not a little, a lot, sad and depressing and kind of meaningless. So I think these two trajectories, they are all possible, and as much as we contribute now and try to solve those things and try to contribute to ethics, try to contribute to understanding how to have it as a tool, but not the guide, that's important. Lots of questions to solve for researchers like myself, students, and others.
Indeed. And I think I heard your work and your passion in a different way when you were talking about what excites you, because just like we're all happy that we have a thermometer to read our temperature or something that measures our blood pressure, all these medical tools that give us insight into the mechanisms of our physiology, you're saying might actually, the AI and the new technology will bring us, as you said, elevate consciousness or awareness, almost like holding a mirror in a way to think about
Yeah.
how we are acting in the world to improve our relations with one another and our mental health. Like I actually heard you use that framing, and that's exciting if it is a tool for that purpose. I wish you much success in that.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I love your metaphor of mirror. That's beautiful. Yeah. It's not just creating us or recreating us. It's just a mirror, and we can choose to look and what to do with that and how to address it. That's beautiful.
And the sweet spot is where the mirror reflects back something to us that is useful information, just data, maybe as Brene Brown says, data with soul, but without being prescriptive about what to do, which is our work, right? Where we do the human work with just more information and more insight potentially. So I like that. I really like that. So my last question I've been asking for years and years and years, regardless of my guest or topic, and that is, Ekaterina, can you think of a moment in your life when you were on the receiving end of empathy and what that meant for you?
Sure, sure. I will expand. This moment was longer than just one moment. Yeah, because I was thinking which story to share. But this story for me, that's the way how Seth Lab was created and why it's created. And I already hinted that a little bit in the beginning, right? That it's not just about the abbreviation and the nice combination of the letters, it's a human behind that. And so it's back to, I was a PhD student, it's 2017. I'm engaged with a Seth. It's a human being, it's a man. He's in medical school. I am in my computer science PhD also program. And he's in Peru for his some sort of medical trips, and I am preparing for the conference, and I was invited to Interaction Design and Children Conference. It was held in Stanford that year, and I am about to fly to California from the East Coast. And right before this flight, I got to know, first I received a call from his mom, and then already I saw it all over the Facebook as well. He was found, his body was found in the mountains in Peru. So it's not him anymore, and I'm processing its grief and everything. And I'm going to the conference I presented. I don't remember much about this conference, and then I'm coming back and to family and spending time with them and funeral. Yeah, and my advisor also came, Christina Gardner-McCune, so it was very special for me there, and my friends supporting me. And then, so this moment was, I think, the hardest, like very, very painful, but it taught me a lot, not necessarily the moment, but the human, what Seth Thomas was. He was the one who inspired me to do my dissertation. He was, for me, embodiment of their empathic living and agency, empathic breathing. And he did care. He wanted to be a doctor just because he wanted to be this doctor without the borders, serving, going, doing something. Yeah, and so he was the one I dedicated my dissertation after that. And I don't have a pain right now in me. I have a lot of gratitude, and I have a lot of feeling that what I'm doing is right, and I cannot not to do it. Yeah, and then in like this dedication for dissertation, I'm writing that I dedicate my future work to that as well. I didn't have the name of the lab or anything, Seth Lab. Yeah, it came later. It just kind of aligned, and I was so happy that I found a way to align that. And now I have this opportunity to remind myself every day with the name of the lab why I'm doing that for. Yeah, and so that's yeah, so that is a moment of this of the pain, and then the many next moments of connecting me to what truly empathy is and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah, so that is my story.
He sounds like he was such a beautiful human being.
I'm very, yeah, I definitely so inspired by him. I was inspired by him when he was alive, and yeah, I like it seems that I keep trying to reach to that a level in some ways in my research and what I'm doing. He definitely was, and I'm very happy that I'm still connected with his family. I call them my American family, his parents and everybody. And yeah, that's very that moment also as the moments of connecting with another person without any conditions. So right now I connect with his family in this way that we just see each other. And for me, this is what empathy is, to see another person, maybe to be this mirror sometimes for another person, just embrace them. Um, yeah.
I'm very moved by that. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
really do sense I really sense his legacy
yeah.
through your work.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that as well. I feel very motivated and moved right now to continue doing what I'm doing, what I absorbed and got inspired from his actions and his approach, how he connected with other people.
Thank you for sharing that story. I know that when we first got on the call, I asked the question what those bags were, and I know that there will be some people who are watching
Sure.
who will say, "How come she didn't ask about that?" So do a final follow-up. And for those who are just listening to the podcast instead of seeing it on a shelving unit, she has two brown paper shopping bags upside down with faces colored onto them. Could you tell us what that's about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I love those. I have a lot of little other things and artifacts in there. So we collect data with my students, and we go to schools and we go to after school programs and like Girl Scouts, like recently was collaborating with. And our goal is to understand how to design virtual reality characters, virtual reality games to help children to develop social emotional skills. So how to do it? First, to bring them to realm of social emotional world skills and knowledge, and to give them some terminology, and then build on that and co-design together and do participatory design with children. So we brought some of their games, which I think it's my favorite game still, charades. The in different countries they call it different, pantomime. Yeah, like this role play activities when somebody is showing without any words either their object or the storyline or the phrase, and everybody else in the group, they need to guess what they're showing right now with their body and their expressions. So we created this emotional charades as a part of our practice, so that we have this emotional cards. It's written like happiness, sadness, or like confusion, like all sorts of different things. And we give this card to the child, and then child need to act it out. Then, as a next step, that as a group activity with the children, so that we give two children two different cards, and they need to figure out scenario, show that to us, and we try to guess emotion and scenario. And the next step, the next level, is to do it without showing their faces. And this is where these bags are coming from. They came from, I don't know, like just paper. Yeah, it's written. Yeah, whatever store. Yeah, and then we give these bags for children, make a holes for the eyes, And children need to act out their scenario and emotion without showing their face. And then we discuss and reflect, well, how was that? Usually that's the hardest because our face shows a lot, and we definitely, that's the first thing what we connect to. Yeah.
I
So that's
love it. I love it. And the fact that you care so deeply about children learning to be able to discern and read emotions and to self-regulate, and that you're using technology to help us become more human. That's a lovely story. That's a lovely story. Ekaterina, thank you for spending your hour this afternoon with me. I've learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners and viewers have too. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here with you and talk about something what I'm passionate about. So
It's
thank you
clear
for this.
you are. It's absolutely clear you are. So thank you to everyone who's been watching and listening, and we'll see you next week at Purposeful Empathy.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this conversation or found it illuminating, I hope you'll check out the other episodes from this series devoted to empathy in the age of AI. And if you know someone who would enjoy the show, I hope you'll pass it along. Before you go, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.